Hello everybody, good morning and welcome to the United Stand. This is your latest Manchester United news and transfer news this Sunday morning, where we have got another match day as well. Manchester United will be in Dublin to play Bilbao. We'll talk about that in a little moment, but let me just get rid of this idiot in the chat. Who is he? Not even a member. Goodbye forever, idiot. Let's move on. We all know who it was. So Manchester United, Amrabat deal this week. Italian reports are saying this is the big week for Amrabat to sign for Manchester United. We'll get into that. I'm not 100% sure on that, because if we've got to sell to buy, then surely you've got to sell to buy. And we still haven't sold Fred, we still haven't sold Donny, we still haven't sold Maguire, we still haven't sold Henderson, we still haven't sold Williams. We'll get into that. We'll also be talking about bit of breaking news actually, bit of new news actually, around the sale of Goalkeeper. Dean Henderson's exit out of Manchester United has closed. Turner is going to them from Arsenal, but also very difficult to actually establish this. But apparently Suzuki is signing for a Belgian club on a loan to buy deal. Now, I've seen a few outlets confirming this, but nothing European really. So I'm a little bit dubious as to whether that is happening. But it's not looking good on the reserve goalkeeping front. We'll see Tom Heaton in goal today. Is that the way to go this season? Does it really matter? We'll talk about that as well. Also updates around Rasmus Hojlund. I mean, look, very happy to have Rasmus on board. But do you feel like a little bit like I feel, that he's not actually on board at the moment? We'll also talk about McTominay. Could he be on the move? And what to expect from the game today after what Erik ten Hag said yesterday. So lots to get into on the show anyway. Sammy says Suzuki's crap anyway. Let's get on with it. But before we do that, we're sponsored by OneFootball. You can scan the QR code with your phone and download it for free, or go through the link in the description. What's OneFootball? Well, it's a free football app where you can get all the latest breaking football news, transfer news. But of course, the season has started. Certainly in England, all the lower leagues, the Championship, National League. Wrexham got beat 5-3. But don't mention it to Ben Foster. Anyway, but you can download this, get all the goal updates, all the stats on OneFootball for free. Links in the description for that. It's downloadable on Apple, Android, the lot. As I say, it's free, and fantastic little app where it'll give you notifications on all the goals going in and stats individually on players, which is great. So check it out. QR code next to me. Or you can scan that with your camera phone, or go through the link in the description. Right, big shout out to OneFootball. Sergio Romero was underappreciated, says Sean Andrew. Well, I want to talk about that goalkeeper situation in a moment, because I think that it's almost relevant to say that what relevance does a backup goalkeeper have? If you've got a good first team goalkeeper. Like the video, Pratt says Savage. I mean, I'm sure we all know who Man City's backup goalkeeper is, and we'll know who Liverpool's backup goalkeeper is, but how often do they actually play? I mean, is it really worth getting your knickers or your pants in a twist about who the reserve goalkeeper is going to be? As long as it's not Dean Henderson, I think we can all sleep easily, can't we? And he won't be happy with it's him anyway. But let's start off about Amrabat. Remember, there is a watch-along today. I'm going to do a double watch-along, but it will be on the United Stand. I'm going to have Man City, Arsenal on that screen. I'll have Man United, Bilbao on that screen. So I will have both games on. So obviously, they're both kicking off at 4 o'clock, so we'll do that. Cup games are important, says Trevor. Well, we'll talk about that in a minute. Let's talk about Amrabat. So the latest coming out of Italy for Amrabat, and of course, Italy has been the place for Manchester United this summer. It really has. I'm trying to think of an Italian product that we could have been. Lasagna FC. I love a good lasagna. We have been absolutely dominated by the Italian transfer market this summer. If you think about the fact that Onana came from there, obviously Hojlund's come from there, Amrabat's come from there. So you have to sit up and take notice. And the latest that's coming out of Italy is that Amrabat is just waiting for this deal to happen. He's chosen Manchester United. There was talk of Bayern Munich on Friday night. I don't know whether we spoke about it on the Friday night show, but there is talk of Bayern Munich and interest from Thomas Tuchel. I'll say this about that. I'm not scared of Bayern Munich. Now, I would normally be scared of any club competing with Manchester United, but what's very clear this summer, and we saw pictures of John Murta yesterday, he's riding the wave of, popularity here. It's like being a teammate of Ronaldo. You're not the star of the show, but you pretend that you are. Our summer transfer window has been locked. I know for a fact, and we've seen the comments from Rasmus Hojlund, we've seen them from Onana, but basically the success of this summer transfer window is on Erik ten Hag. We need to get this takeover done and build. He's doing too much work. Basically, nobody will accept this, but he's doing way too much work compared to a Pep Guardiola or a Jurgen Klopp. He doesn't have the support network around him. United will pretend that they do, but they don't. He has done so much work this summer to get these players in, and it's for his own benefit. Of course it is. He wants these players. But Mount has come to United and chose United because of Ten Hag and the conversation that took place. There were other clubs in, and it was Ten Hag. Onana is coming to Manchester United because of his relationship with Ten Hag. Hojlund, factually, is coming to Manchester United because of Erik ten Hag and what he said this place will be for him and his development. And Amrabat is going to come to Manchester United because of Ten Hag. Now, it's not Ten Hag's job to get these players and do that work. He spends 9-10 months of the season trying to win us games, and then he spent the last 2 or 3 months when he should be, working on other things, working on players. Now, a manager will always contact a player, but the level of work that Ten Hag has put into this summer is ridiculous. And, there are people out there, trying to rewrite history because they're getting some sort of access to the club, or I don't know, saying that it's, United have changed. It's a really great new transfer window. And it's not. It's because of Erik ten Hag. And that's why when I see stories about Amrabat and Bayern Munich, normally I'd be very worried, but I'm not, because this is Erik ten Hag. It's the pull of Erik ten Hag. And rivals hate that. They hate it. I tweeted about this on Friday and they were like trying to take the piss out of the pull of Erik ten Hag. But the reality is, go and watch your own club. Go and understand your own club. I had Piers Morgan yesterday taking the piss out of Hojlund and Onana. And I literally said, anyone with a football brain knows who Hojlund is. To which, I don't know why an Arsenal fan would want to defend Piers Morgan. I had Arsenal fans going, oh yeah, like you knew Rasmus Hojlund was a few weeks ago. Well, yeah, I did. I knew who he was for most of last season because I've always kept an eye on Serie A. But you know what's even better? I knew who Vieira was before you bought him, not Patrick, Fabio. I knew who Gabriel was before you bought him. I knew who Timber was before you bought him. They're not even signing for Man United. The modern football fan knows, kudos to Brighton. We all know about him. It's called a football education. Most football fans these days don't just sit there with their gobs open like goldfish waiting for your club to buy a player that you've never heard of and go, oh, I hope he's good. Like, of course we know who Hojlund was. And I think this is where, with Manchester United and Bayern Munich and Amrabat, I'm just not worried because I think Erik ten Hag is and has put a lot of work in. But I tell you what, this is why we need the sale, because he can't do this every year. You look at what goes on at Ajax, and Ajax were buying Ten Hag players from South America, all over the world because they've got a good scouting system, and Ten Hag could trust it. He doesn't trust the scouting system. He doesn't trust the recruitment team at Manchester United. He's having to do all the work himself. Can you give Liam a happy 13th birthday, please, says Lee. I can. Happy birthday to Liam. Of course I can. We need to sell Mount ASAP, says William. We'll talk about that in a moment. I know Faz spoke about it a bit last night. So, look, in relation to Amrabat, do I think we'll get the deal done this week? I don't, actually. I don't want to be the prophet of doom, but I want to be the prophet of realism, I suppose. I don't see us signing Amrabat this week. He's not getting involved in Fiorentina pre-season games, which means that Fiorentina are protecting him to sell him. But I just don't think we're moving quick enough to get Amrabat done this week. It doesn't feel like we are. I hope we are, and things could change in the next few hours, in the next couple of days. But I don't feel that United... I think they could be. I think they could get this deal done really quickly. I think if we were ready, we could just go and get this deal done very quickly. I think it's there to be done. I mean, everything is perfect to go and get that deal done. Personal terms are done. He wants to come to us. Fiorentina want to sell to us. He's ready to move. He's there ready to move. But I think United are trying to offload players. And that takes us to the area that we don't want to talk about, but we have to talk about. What are we doing on sales? I mean, Fred should have been sold at the start of July. It's the 6th of August. He's not featured in any pre-season games. When was our first pre-season game? Right, I don't know what's going on with Fred. He's not involved in... He won't be in Dublin today. He won't play today. And yet, we've not sold him yet. Donny van der Beek will play today. That terrifies me. It's not like he couldn't get injured. We've not sold him yet. Dean Henderson, not featured in any pre-season games. Not sold him yet. Brandon Williams will probably play today. Not sold him yet. Harry Maguire will probably be captain of Man United today. Should have been sold by now. And that's why Amrabat is not a Man United player yet. It's because he is ready to come. Fiorentina are ready to sell, but we haven't sold enough players. And literally, we've got to. We've got to. So, yeah, look, I'd like Amrabat to happen this week, and it can happen this week. But I think United have got to get moving, and obviously we haven't done that yet. Sharif says, stop hitting on Mount. He is now a United player. I don't know what you're talking about. It's not coming from me. It's coming from the chat. I cannot be underestimated the pull and work of Eric Ten Hag for all these signings, says Kazim. But the media won't give him credit and they'll end up with Murta and co. Well, look, Kazim, if we get a new owner and they keep John Murta, that'll be the biggest mistake they've ever made. And the same with Richard Arnold. And nothing personal, because if they're so good at their job, the way I look at it is, if you work for a company and you are great at your own PR, and you're telling everyone how great you are, and you're getting people to tell how great you are, and then a new boss comes in and sacks you, why are you bothered? Because if you're so good at such a big company, you'll get snapped up by somebody else very, very quickly. So I personally would get rid of Murta, Arnold, and every other recruiter involved at Man United, because I'd want to recruit my own people. I'd say, look at the last 10 years, it's not been good enough. I don't want to keep Glazer people here. I want my own people here. That's why I'd do it. And I'd say, if you're so good at your job, you're going to get snapped up straight away. But we know it'll be the Solskjaer effect. They won't get snapped up. Richard Arnold won't get a job as another CEO for another football club. No chance. John Murta won't get another big club as a director of football. No chance. So, look, this is business. Take the personality out of it. Take the bloody emotion out of it. We want to recruit the best. We are not the best. These people who are saying United are having a great summer, it's the most efficient. I mean, we had Rio saying it. We've had other people saying it. It's arse talk. Oh, this is the best summer we've had in years. I mean, either they're very thick or they're doing it for a different reason. Because, look, I'm happy to have this conversation with anybody. The door's open, as I say, all the time. We'll have a conversation with anybody. But I would love to have this conversation. This is not a good transfer window for Manchester United in relation to pure business. Because a transfer window is split down the middle, like chopping an apple in half on sales and purchases. And we've done nothing on sales. And the season starts a week tomorrow. We don't have every player that we should have. And in the striker department, look, I want to talk about that in a minute. On the striker department, we still don't have a striker. I'm really happy with Rasmus Hojlund, but we still don't have a striker. He will not be fit probably until the Arsenal game, some people are thinking. So first 3 games of the season, we don't have a striker, let alone the bench. What's going on with Anthony Martial? Apparently he's not going to be playing against in Dublin today. So Martial's not fit for the start of the season, and yet he went on the tour. I mean, it's a bloody mess in relation to that. It's my birthday today, Mark, says Kurt. Hope you're well and your team and family keep up great work. Have a great day. You too as well. Happy birthday to Kurt. Hi, Mark. Thanks for your show. Who would you bring in instead of Suzuki for goalkeeper? Also, can you wish my mate Andy a happy birthday? I'll tell you what, I think people are starting to lie on the birthdays, says here, EL. Thank you very much. Happy birthday. Do you see us signing anybody after Amrabat, says Savage? I don't know. I don't know on that one. And Sid, I'd like to think that we might bring another player in on loan, especially in the attack. I mean, I'd like to have another attacker now, but yeah, we're very reliant on Marcus Rashford again, aren't we? I'm absolutely disgusted, says Sid, by how United have treated Irish fans. I refuse to go to the game today. They totally scammed us. I'm not the only one who's angry, says Sid. Well, look, I hope... I don't know what I hope for. United should issue an apology, really, but they won't. What they'll basically say, United, is they will say that they reserve the right. Well, they won't say anything, but their stance will be they reserve the right to pick whatever team they want to pick. But that's the way a bloody supermarket deals. You know, a supermarket knows they've got to. People will come to their place to buy their products. They don't have to be up the arse of their customers. But in a football club, without your football fans, you're nothing. So I think that the way the football fans have been treated on this tour isn't great. I think the communication could have been better. And ultimately, we're not going to spend long on this, but the bottom line is this. If Man United had said, we're going to pick a reserve team against Bilbao in Dublin, then they wouldn't have sold as many tickets. So in the bottom line, it actually is manipulative and mercenary because they've sold a game. They've not mentioned anything about who's going to play. And it is a bit naughty. And I felt it was a bit naughty against Dortmund. But this is the commercialisation of football, isn't it? That's what it is. Now, in defence of Erik ten Hag, what he said is we're a week out from the start of the season and he needs to get 90 minutes into as many legs as possible. And probably doesn't like the idea of doing 45 minutes on a Saturday and 45 minutes on a Sunday. I get that. You're running the risk of injury if you get them to play 45 minutes across 2 days. Whereas if you do 90 minutes and rest, 90 minutes for the other team and rest, that works better. I think the big problem with this was United playing 2 games over the weekends. Like, we don't play till next Monday. Why can't we play a midweek game in Dublin on a Wednesday night? Why can't we play it on a Tuesday night? That's what we should have done. Irish fans would have still turned up. So I think that's where United got it wrong. And you've had this scenario all week where fans who are going to Old Trafford and fans who are going to Dublin are like, who's going to play? Who's going to play? I think in relation to today's game, there are interesting parts to today's game. Obviously, I think Jadon Sancho will start. Wan-Bissaka will start. Eriksen, another player, will start. There are a few players that, from a first team perspective, it will be quite interesting. But on the other hand, is it not just a big sale? Is it not like Boxing Day sales for Ten Hag? Harry Maguire, Brandon Williams, there's a few other players that potentially could be up for sale. Pellistri will start though. He's obviously a fan favourite. So look, yeah, it's not as attractive as the game yesterday where we had a full first team. That's why I'm going to have the Community Shield on as well. But yeah, look, I just think it's the commercialisation of football and we shouldn't have been playing 2 games next to each other, really. And the fact that nobody had any clarity about it either, you didn't know whether you were going to get the first team in Dublin or the first team yesterday. It was a little bit of a sore point, and I'm sure there'll be a lot of people disappointed by it. Let's talk about the goalkeeper situation, because one player that will not be playing in goal today is Dean Henderson. Now, this has become another... Well, I suppose it's another area where you'd almost say to the people that this has been a brilliant transfer window. Well, what's gone on with the goalkeeper situation then? Because this is basically fact. Nottingham Forest wanted to sign Dean Henderson in June. Dean Henderson wanted to go to Nottingham Forest in June. And Manchester United said, wait, we want to know what's going on with the goalkeeper situation first. So United could have cashed in on Dean Henderson in June, and they told everybody to wait. Now, Dean Henderson's going nowhere, and Nottingham Forest are buying somebody else. Because United and their brilliant summer have messed up another sale through inexperience, incompetence, whatever you want to call it. Sean Turner says, Amrabat is a must for this team. He comes straight in for Mount, in my opinion. Otherwise, we'll have to outscore teams because we won't keep many clean sheets. Good point, Sean. Mount missing sitters and Onana clangers. Our transfers haven't been good. Hopefully Hojlund comes good, so spiritual. And our club has no clue about transfer deals. Always end up paying more for average players and also have no clue to sell a player for a decent price. Turner is going to go as a first team goalkeeper for Nottingham Forest. Apparently, they will not go for Dean Henderson as well. The reality here is that United could have sold Dean Henderson, and Dean Henderson wants to leave. Where he's going to go now, I don't know. Everything in Dean Henderson, whether you like him or not, will not put up with being reserve goalkeeper. So that in itself is an issue. He has got no chance of being Manchester United's number 1. Onana is Man United's number 1. De Gea would have been stupid to stay if Onana had been here, because there is only one number 1, and that is Onana. United wanted SUZUKI. That was the reserve goalkeeper that Erik ten Hag wanted. Nobody really knew anything about him. I still don't. But he is an up-and-coming sweeper keeper that a lot of people think will be a really good goalkeeper for the future. In fact, a lot of people were worried about him coming in because they think, in a couple of years, he could be, one of the better goalkeepers in world football. United wanted him. Apparently, he's not coming to United. He's going to a Belgian club. So the goalkeeper situation for United is not good. And what we do there I mean, look, it's August the 6th. In 4 weeks' time, the transfer window is closed. I think the transfer window actually closes 3 weeks on Wednesday or something like that. I've already just given you quick maths. There is not enough time for Manchester United to do everything they need to do. In 3 weeks, we've got to close the Amrabat deal, sell Harry Maguire, sell Scott McTominay, sell Brandon Williams, sell Fred, sell Donny, and buy a reserve goalkeeper. I mean, I've just given you 7 deals. Not happening. Not happening in 3 weeks. So, yeah, you can start ticking them off. We're probably going to do nothing with the goalkeepers. Brandon Williams will probably stay. McTominay will stay. Maguire will stay. You can already start closing it down to Amrabat in, Fred and Donny out. And anything beyond that would be a bonus for what is basically Snail FC when it comes to sales. But the goalkeeping situation is another area where, if you want to be absolutely blunt, it's not gone the way that Erik ten Hag wanted it to go. Erik ten Hag wanted more than that. And we will probably be left with a situation where I think Dean Henderson goes on loan. So, again, 20 million quid not coming into the club. Suzuki obviously goes to a different club. And we will end up with Tom Heaton as our reserve goalkeeper. And look, for me, Tom Heaton's never been a reserve goalkeeper for Man United. He's a nice guy and he's well respected within the football club. But ability-wise, I'd be worried if Onana got injured. And that's what I always think. But look, on the other hand, what Arsenal are doing, I don't agree with. You don't have Ramsdale and Raya. It's like us when we had Dean Henderson and De Gea. It's like Chelsea when they had Mendy and Kepa. You don't have 2 goalkeepers of that quality. And I think Tom Heaton is well liked in the squad. The manager likes him. And whilst it wasn't ideal, I think that's the situation we're going to end up with. And I think Tom Heaton, funnily enough, will play in goal again today. I don't think there's a lot United can do on the 6th of August in relation to that. What they've got to do is do something with Dean Henderson, because you do not want him here this season as your 3rd choice goalkeeper, because as we know, he's quite disruptive anyway. So they've dropped a bollock, really, United, around the goalkeeping situation. They'll champion themselves of what they did with Onana. They treated De Gea like shit. They've treated Henderson like shit. They've messed the Suzuki deal up. And I guarantee you now, none of this will be to do with Ten Hag. This will be how we've negotiated it. And I think the goalkeeper situation ultimately has ended up with Onana coming in, which is what Ten Hag wanted, but the mess around it, I mean, how Dean Henderson's still here, I don't know. But look, we have got Onana, and I mean, some of the crap I was reading yesterday. I mean, I had an Arsenal fan with a screenshot of me saying Ramsdale's got to do better there, and they were trying to make out that I'd said it about Ramsdale getting lobbed against Lisbon. But on the date of the tweet they've took, it's the day they played Man City, and it's the shot from De Bruyne where I think he should have got down better. I mean, this is how desperate some of our rivals are. They are watching, obviously paying, or watching some stream of Man United pre-season games, and then trying to ridicule our signings. I mean, I'm not sure Havertz will do that well at Arsenal, but the only pre-season game I've watched of Arsenal was the one against us. I couldn't give a shit. But the fact people on a Saturday afternoon are watching Man United play Lens in a pre-season game, I mean, as I said, hated, adored, but never ignored. But look, I think that I backed David De Gea to the end, as you know, and I will back Onana to the end as well. I think I wasn't in charge of what happened, but it's happened. I'm not going to be bitter or stubborn or petty. I like Onana. He's a box office goalkeeper, and I liked De Gea, but things change. This has happened numerous times. I've seen Ronaldo go. I've seen Beckham go. I've seen Stam go. I've seen Van Nistelrooy go. I've seen Keane go. I've seen this happen at Man United. And in some ways, it's good. It keeps people on their toes. Nobody's bigger than the club and never get too comfy. So, but look, Onana, I think, will be a fantastic goalkeeper. Should Pep spend 71 million on a wig, says GP. Okay. Yeah, so look, we'll wait and see what happens around the goalkeeper situation, but I certainly will keep saying this. I don't get this, and it is a minority view that this summer transfer window has been brilliant from Arnold and Murta and co. I don't know what that's all about. I personally think it's job protection scheme. I think they're trying to keep their jobs if we get taken over, and I think they're trying to make the fans think that they've done a good job, and I really don't think they have. And as I said before, John, Richard, if you feel that you've, because I'm sure you'll get told about this, because I know that a lot of people in the club keep an eye on the United Stand. As I've said many times, and I'm sure the community will agree, the door is always open if we're getting it wrong. If there's a different angle here, because there's always two sides to a story. Let's do the interview. Love to sit down with either of you, and you can tell us about what a great job you've done and the difficulties of the job. But you won't do it, because the reason you won't do it is because you might have a story as to why your job is difficult. But if you tell us that, you'll be sacked because you are facilitators to the Glazers. I probably agree that John Murtagh and Richard Arnold's job is very difficult. I think it is, because they're owned by the Glazers. But you can't have both pieces of the pie, lads. You can't pretend that you're good at your job and then get exposed that you're not, and then not tell us the reason you're not, which is the Glazers, because they'll sack you. You are facilitators, and people will always remember that. You are facilitators of the Glazers. You make excuses for them. You try and pretend about financial fair play, etc. You are facilitators, and you will always be that, and because you will not sit down and tell the truth. So you are facilitators of the Glazers, unfortunately. And that might seem a bit harsh, but you know what? We're still owned by the Glazers. We've not been bought by Qatar. I was watching the show that Faz did last night. I saw that story from The Sun. It's bullshit. Qatar have not won the race. We will not be definitely sold by November. There is no progression in relation to this sale. We should have been sold this summer. We're still being run by the same people. And I absolutely am over the moon with Mount, Onana and Hojlund, but this is not a great summer transfer window. I think it's a great summer transfer window would put you in a mindset of, we finished third last year. I genuinely think we can challenge for the title this year. Does anybody sit here right now and go, you feel we can challenge for the title? Doesn't mean we won't, but don't tell me it's a good summer transfer window when I'm sat here going, I don't know what to expect this season. I don't know whether we will be better or worse than last year. And we've sold absolutely nobody. I think it's unbelievably disrespectful to all Irish United fans left to watch the Deadwood, says Mark Kennedy. We're grown by the Glazers. They don't care about the fans. The biggest mistake you've made, if you're disappointed about the team today, is that you actually thought the club give a shit about you. There are people in that football club who care. There's some fantastic people who work in that football club, but the owners of that football club do not care about you. Wake up and smell the Maxwell House or the Nescafe. They just don't care. I want to talk about Rasmus Hojlund very, very quickly. Please do smash a like on the video. We've played this game before. We're on 800 likes. In 10 seconds, I think we'll be on 2,000. 10, 9. You've got to hit a like for it to happen. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We're now going to talk about Rasmus Hojlund, and Cabrera is happy about this. So we're going to talk about Rasmus Hojlund. I'm obviously over the moon with this player. I can't wait to see him in a Manchester United shirt. I don't think any of us can. But I've got to say, we were kept in the dark like mushrooms again, weren't we? With regards to this deal. We were sat there. He's been in Manchester since last Tuesday. And we're like, why is he not signing for Manchester United? And I did say, look, there might be some hidden reason why that's happened. And ultimately, it's come out that he's carrying a bit of an injury. Apparently, they sent him to London on Thursday. And look, I've got to protect United here. I won't always be negative about the way the club is run. They've obviously done that right. We were all like, I'd rather he was playing than walking out onto the pitch on the weekend. And I've got to say, it was in my head, but I wouldn't say it because I don't know. It was in my head, is he injured? Because why would they not? Why would Ten Hag? Can you imagine the PR team walking into Ten Hag on Wednesday and saying, you know you want him in training tomorrow and you want to play him at the weekend. We've got this great idea that he walks out onto the pitch. Get out. Get out. And I think that, obviously, I'm sure many of you were thinking about it as well. I thought, is he injured? Is he injured? Is that the issue here? And obviously, you wouldn't say that publicly because you don't want to be wrong about that and you don't want to scare people. And nobody was saying he was injured. So it was just a complete theory. And people will say, why didn't you message him? Well, he wouldn't admit that, would he? So the reality is, and why should he? He's injured. And that's why he walked out on the pitch. And that's why he's been in Manchester since Tuesday. And that's why he's not training. He's injured. And I wake up this morning, and yesterday was great. You know, Rasmus, Rasmus, Rasmus. I love it. And I feel like he's not signed yet. That's what I feel like. I know he's a Man United player, but I feel like he hasn't signed. I feel like he's one of those signings that, you know, where you buy him in the summer before they come. You know, like Chelsea did with Nkunku. He will join us next year. I feel a little bit like that about Rasmus, that he's not actually signed for us because he's not fit. The talk is 3 weeks until he's match fit. I don't know whether that means 3 weeks before he can train, in which case we probably won't see him until September. Or I don't know whether he can train now and he's got to build his match fitness up. I'm hoping it's the latter. But it is what it is. There's nothing you can do about it. It's disappointing. Of course it is. But taken away about Hojlund, because I'm in no way, and I've seen people say, why have we bought an injured player? I mean, that's irrelevant to me. And I'm not worried about that. He's 20 years of age. Everybody has little knocks and stuff like that, so that's fine. But it takes me back to United again. And I'm like, I'm really happy with Rasmus Hojlund. I can't wait for him to play. But moving away from Hojlund and just talking about the transfer window again, Cristiano Ronaldo basically left a year ago. Cavani left a year ago. Martial's been injured for a year. We've known we've needed a striker. In fact, we've known we needed 2 strikers. You could argue we could say we need 3. We've known we've needed a striker for at least 12 months. And here we are starting another season without a striker. And look, Rasmus will be fit at some point, but he's 20. He's a developmental player. And he's missing the start of the season, which impacts his development. Of course it does. We are going into a massive season where apparently we've had a great transfer window, by the way. Don't forget that, everyone. We're doing the T-shirt soon. Murta Madness. And I'm sure it'll be our best seller. And we've got no striker. Marcus Rashford's not a striker. Like, I know he scored yesterday, but he scores very much winger goals. He's not a striker. I don't think he wants to play up front. Jadon Sancho is not a striker. So we are starting a very big Premier League season, a very competitive Premier League season. We don't have a recognised striker in the team, let alone first team or bench. We don't have one. And I think that's shit. And this is why, to me, the Glazer sale is always going to be what this summer was all about. Because if we'd got rid of the Glazers, do you think Qatar would be going, well, I know you bought Hojlund, but we're absolutely fine going into a massive season with no striker? We would have had a striker. And I think that's my big concern. I'm not worried about Mount. I'm not worried about Onana. I'm not worried about the defence. I'm not worried about the midfield. I'm not worried about Rashford or Anthony crossing or whatever. We don't have a bloody striker. And I think that bothers me, because we've got to find goals in this start of the season. Because I don't see us losing games, but I could see the first 2 or 3 games we drop points with draws because we can't score. Imagine we go to Spurs and it's a 0-0 or a 1-1. Imagine Wolves manage to keep a clean sheet and it's a 0-0. And we've got Arsenal, the 4th game of the season, and that'll be tough. And goals win games. So I'm a little bit disappointed. Well, I'm a lot disappointed about the striker situation, because it's not like it's a surprise. It's not like we've suddenly had a major injury crisis up front. We've got 4 players out. We've been short up front for a year, and we've neglected that position. Some people, and I don't agree with this, actually think even with Hojlund we've neglected the situation. But I'm stunned that we're going into a season with no strikers. And look, Ten Hag will defend it. He'll go, I've got Sancho, I've got Rashford. Nobody sees them as strikers. Nobody sees them as centre forwards. They are plasters, really. They are not strikers. Looks like we're either going to have Rashford or Sancho playing false 9 against Wolves. Who would you prefer to play the striker role, says Marino. Oh, 100% Rashford, because you can play Garnacho off the left, who I think is our best player yesterday. So there are positives to it, but ultimately Marcus Rashford's not a striker. Big up Mark, Rasmus will be the man. I think we have to do what we did last season and build from the back. Make sure to not concede first few games. Yeah, and we've got experience of that, Jay. Of course we have. But I read something yesterday and I forget where it was. Somebody said that Manchester United, I can't remember where it was. Someone in the chat might know, because obviously you read a lot of the stuff I read. Basically, the story yesterday was that Manchester United abandoned their plans for Harry Kane and moved on to Rasmus Hojlund around early June, it's bollocks. It's not true. It's just not true. That's not true. Erik ten Hag wanted Harry Kane, but he also wanted Rasmus Hojlund. Now, whether he would have got them both, I don't know how he was going to do that. Maybe there is 100 million quid hidden under the bed. I don't know. But we didn't go for Kane and then go for Hojlund. It's a dangerous story, and it should not be accommodated because it is fake. If you believe that story, you are going to fall into the trap of the media, which is that Hojlund is the Kane alternative. And then when Hojlund is developing and he's not scoring the goals Kane would have done, then they've got their narrative there. This is not true. Man United need 2 or 3 strikers. Erik ten Hag always wanted an experienced striker and a developmental striker. We've been talking about this for a long time. So Hojlund and Kane, Evan Ferguson and Osimhen. That's what Ten Hag set this summer up for, because he, like us, expected a Qatari ownership, in which case he probably could have done it. When the Kane deal fell through, we didn't go, let's go and get Hojlund. We were already working on that deal. We've been working on the Hojlund deal for probably, well, I knew about it in late May. And I wouldn't have been the first to know about it. We would have been working on that deal probably a month or 2 before that. But it was hotter than the sun on Hojlund in early June. We hadn't pulled out of any Harry Kane deal by then. And he wanted 2 strikers, basically. Just be very careful of falling into the trap of United wanted Kane, and when they realised they couldn't get Kane, they went for Hojlund. He's not the Kane alternative. That's not what the plan was. Because they're not the same. You don't go from 30-year-old best striker in the world to 20-year-old had 1 developmental season and needs a lot of work. That's not... If United were going for a Kane alternative, they probably would have gone for... I mean, I don't know. There's a few options out there. I mean, you're never going to find a Harry Kane. Mark, we definitely need Amrabat. We're still light in the midfield. Hopefully this week. Can you say hello to my mate Adrian and call him a prat? Says Rotten Apple. And Scott Hargreaves been a member for 34 months. Thank you very much, Scott. Well, Ulrich, thanks for your super chat. Remember, we've got a live watch-along for you this afternoon. We'll be live at about 3:30 for that. I will also have the Community Shield on, which I'm sure many of you will as well. In relation to Amrabat, look, I've seen a lot of things written about and said about Mason Mount. I don't care. It's pre-season. Yes, he could have had a really good pre-season, and there could have been a lot more buzz around him. I think the minimum I would say about Mason Mount is he's not had a good pre-season, and he could have had a lot of buzz around him going into pre-season. But, you know, he was smiling when he missed that chance. He had a pair of football boots on, bigging up the English Lionesses because they're playing tomorrow. Mason Mount's very brand aware. He's very of the now. You know, he does his little dances. He's very social media aware. I don't think he's going to be bothered by fans on Twitter saying he's a flop or anything like that. I think he's got his head switched on. And I think at the end of the day, even what if he'd had a good pre-season then and been crap in the real season? The first time to judge Mason Mount is Wolves. Like, that's the only time to judge him. I really don't care about... He should have scored yesterday, but I don't care. I don't really care about his performances. It's all about what he does against Wolves. If he has a bad game against Wolves, that's when it starts. If he has a bad game against Spurs, that's when it starts. Like, if he plays crap in the first 3 or 4 games of the season, that's when people will start to say, well, how's this going to work? But it really is completely irrelevant at the moment. And, you know, Erik ten Hag is absolutely obsessed with this player, and he likes this player. Now, we've got to trust the manager on that, but I think that Mason Mount... My thing about Mount is I don't see how it's going to work with Bruno, and I worry that the midfield will get overrun, because Casemiro, doesn't matter whether he's the best CDM in the world, you get overrun if you're on your own. I would like to see Amrabat come in and play next to Casemiro. That's what I want to see. That doesn't mean that Mason Mount's on the bench. He might find Bruno gets shifted to the right wing again. You don't know. But I would love to see Amrabat coming into that team and play next to Casemiro, because I think in this league you need more than one defensive midfielder. You need 2. And but look, it won't matter until we play Wolves. That's what it's all about. Thanks everyone for watching. We will be back live for the watch along this afternoon at 3:30. Smash a like on the video on your way out. We actually didn't hit 2,000 likes, so that stupid 10-second countdown thing didn't actually work. There we go. So that's in the bin. Maybe it only works on watch-alongs. But thanks everyone for watching this morning. Take care. I'll speak to you a little bit later, of course. And yeah, looking forward to it. Have a great day. Speak to you in a bit.